The gag order is off, y'all, and you know I have been waiting for this moment. So finally, let's talk about all those crazy, unconfirmed, unvetted headlines in the press around Uncle Nearest and separate fact from fiction.
Fawn Weaver, the historian turned whiskey baron, was sitting on $1 billion empire. She had done the impossible. She had taken a 150-year-old story of stolen labor and built a brand so powerful it was outselling the very companies that did the stealing. It was the ultimate American comeback story. The descendants of Nathan Nearest Green, the enslaved man who taught Jack Daniel how to make whiskey, were finally getting their due.
Speaking of the next generation, Nearest Green's descendants, we've continued paying for their full college tuition, books, tutors, all that stuff, as we have since before the very first bottle of Uncle Nearest was sold.
They had the awards, they had the land, they had the valuation. And then, in the span of a few months, it all started to burn. When you look at the players, the timing, and the evidence, a pattern emerges. A pattern that suggests the hidden hand of an old industry decided it was time to cut the new guy down to size. The hit on Uncle Nearest. $1 million question. Was it mismanagement or was it murder?
Sophisticated fraud and theft by a CFO and enablers was committed.
Let's start with the official story. On July 28, 2025, Farm Credit Mid-America, a massive agricultural lender, filed a federal lawsuit. They claimed Uncle Nearest had defaulted on more than $100 million in loans. The allegations were designed to sound damning. They said the company failed to provide financial information. They missed payments. And then came the smoking gun, the piece of evidence meant to turn public opinion. They claimed Uncle Nearest misused loans proceeds to buy a vacation home on Martha's Vineyard. A vacation home, while owing millions. It sounds irresponsible, doesn't it?
The salacious nonsense, those press hit pieces, the so-called smear campaign, misappropriation of funds to buy what is now known as Uncle Nearest's house on the vineyard. Come on, y'all. That was one of the smartest investments we have ever made. That was created as a highly curated, invitation-only space designed specifically to celebrate the normalization of Black success while connecting with those who share in that celebration. That purchase has become a cornerstone, building connection, legacy, and brand among the culture in a way you can't fake or replicate. But even that wasn't the real issue. Let's talk about what was. Would we have done some things differently? Of course.
And more importantly, she claims Farm Credit knew about it. They allegedly visited the property. They attended a gospel brunch there. They praised the acquisition. So, why did they fail to secure it as collateral? Why did Farm Credit, a sophisticated lender, allegedly fail to perfect their interest in 7 out of 8 of the company's real estate holdings? In the world of finance, that's not a mistake, that's a setup. It leaves the door open for a lender to later claim fraud, to paint the borrower as a criminal, even if they were complicit from the start. It's an insurance policy for a hit. But the Martha's Vineyard story is just the appetizer. We have to follow the money to the man who was supposed to be guarding it. Michael Sinzaki, the former chief financial officer. In January 2026, the Weavers filed a civil lawsuit against him.
Our former CFO, terminated nearly a year ago, has already gone on record admitting to fraud and theft.
They claim Sinzaki was running a parallel operation inside the company. He was allegedly adjusting invoices, redirecting funds, and forging stock transfer documents, using Fawn Weaver's own equity without her consent. He was hiding liabilities while pushing a narrative of explosive growth. He allegedly made it look like vendor payments were settled when the money was actually going somewhere else. And here's where the conspiracy gets thick. Fawn Weaver has hinted that Farm Credit was uniquely positioned to know about this fraud. In fact, she claims that 2 Farm Credit executives took a social trip to Martha's Vineyard with the former CFO. So you have a lender suing you for fraud, a CFO you're accusing of fraud, and photographic evidence that the lender and the CFO were socializing together. That's not a coincidence. That's a connection. The question is, who is really running the play? On August 14, 2025, a federal judge dropped the hammer. He appointed a receiver, a third party, to take complete control of Uncle Nearest. The founder was effectively pushed out of her own company. The court agreed with Farm Credit that a receiver was necessary. But here's what's interesting. The judge discounted the Martha's Vineyard allegations. He said there were too many outstanding factual disputes to hold that against the company. The decision came down to other factors: the missing payments, the inventory questions, the inadequate security. But for an investigator, that ruling raises a red flag. The lender's most salacious accusation, the vacation home smear, was deemed irrelevant to the decision. So why include it? Why leak it to the press? Because the real goal wasn't just to get a receiver. It was to weaken the brand, to create chaos, to make the asset vulnerable. And look what happened next. The receiver, Philip Young, immediately started exploring 2 options: refinancing the debt or selling the company. And who showed interest? Several competitors in the spirits industry. This is the kill shot. The Weavers filed an emergency motion in November 2025, begging the court to stop the receiver from sharing information. They warned that competitors were already asking for access to Uncle Nearest's pricing, distributor relationships, production planning, supply chain, and other secrets. Think about that. You spend a decade building a brand, creating a unique distribution network, perfecting your process. You fight off the conglomerates who want to buy you out. And then a court-appointed receiver puts all your secrets in a data room for your rivals to inspect. And they're inspecting it during a lull in the spirits market, when the company's valuation is at its lowest point. If you want to know how deep the rot goes, look at the receiver's own report from February 2026. Philip Young told the court he found severe financial misconduct. We're not talking about a bounced check. We're talking about erased records, overstated revenues, unfiled federal tax returns, extensive blending of assets. One podcast investigation from August 2025 even claimed there were allegations of overstating barrel inventory by a staggering $21 million. Fawn Weaver's defense is simple. She was a victim of fraud. She blames the former CFO and a smear campaign designed to destroy her reputation. But the evidence from the receivership paints a picture of a company that was, at best, wildly out of control, and at worst, a house of cards built on aggressive accounting and missed tax returns. So who killed Uncle Nearest? Or at least, who put it on life support? Theory 1, the insider job. This is the official Weaver defense. A rogue CFO, possibly in league with or enabled by a predator lender, cooked the books and left the company holding a $100 million bag of dynamite. Theory 2, the friendly fire. This is the lender's perspective. A founder grew too fast, bought too much real estate, hired the wrong people, and lost control of her finances. The debt was real, the defaults were real, and the receiver was the only option. Theory 3, the hidden hand. This is the conspiracy. An industry that has spent 150 years benefiting from the erasure of black excellence saw a threat. A $1 billion black-owned brand that refused to sell out was a target. Destroy the competitor, acquire the legend. The Weavers are fighting to end the receivership and get their company back. But even if they win, the damage is done. The records are gone. The secrets may have been shared. The brand that was worth $1 billion is now fighting for its life. And the only people smiling are sitting in boardrooms, watching a competitor burn, waiting to pick through the ashes. The question isn't just whether Fawn Weaver can save her company. It's whether an industry built on stolen legacies can ever truly let one go.
Which makes it important to clear up one misconception. Contrary to false reports, bankruptcy or liquidation is not on the table. Every expert working on this case has confirmed to the courts that neither is necessary nor warranted.